Are you thinking of hiring a remote software developer or multiple remote developers for your next project? Then it is essential to do it the correct way. When hiring for tech roles, it's very difficult to find qualified developers that are open to new positions. It's a fact that almost all developers already have a job. Having a great recruitment process is essential if you want to find and hire the candidates you need and avoid costly hiring mistakes. Most modern day companies spend 70% plus of their money on salaries. Therefore, being really good at hiring is extremely important. Yet, it's normal to feel overwhelmed, and many people and businesses simply don't know how to start hiring remotely. Don't worry, we got you covered. In this article, we'll share our step by step process for finding and filtering developer candidates. This four-step process will maximize your chances of finding remote developers that will successfully fulfill the goals of your software project. Step 1. Define your development needs. The first and most important step is knowing what type of developer you need. This depends mostly on the software product that you want to build. By looking at the scope of your project, you want to extrapolate the following. Technical stack. What programming languages, frameworks, platforms, databases, and other technologies are needed to execute your project? Time estimate. In what amount of time do you need your project completed, and how much time is your project expected to take? Team size. Would you need one or multiple developers to complete the project in the desired timeframe? Seniority. Depending on the complexity, you may need junior, intermediate, or senior developers, or maybe a mix of different seniorities. This will define, to a large extent, the cost per developer that you should budget. Budget amount. Knowing the time frame, team size, and seniority, it will be much easier to estimate the budget for the project. It's recommended to leave about 25% buffer for unplanned expenses, as they often occur in software projects. How to get answers to the above points. Companies that have experience usually know all of these well. That allows them to define their needs in the job specs more easily when searching for a remote developer. However, many businesses that are building software for the first time are not sure what tech stack or budget are the best. Even if done right, figuring out all of this on your own can be a lot of effort, and IT consultants charge hefty fees for it. But seeing that many startups struggle with this issue, we decided to offer our help for free. At RemoteMore, we've helped many companies get answers. We've done it so many times that we standardized it as a free service. You are welcome to schedule a free consultation directly with our CPO and CTO, who has 10 plus years of experience in product companies. In any case, once you've done your homework, you can move on to step 2, build your hiring scorecard. It is crucial to make a scorecard that describes precisely what qualities a person needs to achieve the goals of their role. Imagine it as the scoring sheet for candidates that you fill out while interviewing candidates, listing all the needed qualities. The scorecard should ideally begin with the outcomes you want to see by the hired person in the first 1, 3, and 12 months. We stress the fact that these should be specific, measurable outcomes. They are not a list of day-to-day activities. For example, complete the MVP by the end of month 2, release it without critical bugs, resolve UI/UX issues by month 3. Once you define the outcomes, you should ask, what qualities and competencies does the person need to accomplish these outcomes? Besides technical skills, don't forget thoroughly defined soft skills that indicate behavioral and cultural fit with the job and the team. For example, being a very practical person, being self-driven, and being good at taking ownership. After defining these, you should come up with a plan for how to score the candidates for each of those criteria. Probably it's one or more interview questions related to each of the criteria. For example, show us UI you built with React. Ideally, you should use a scoring system such as a 0-10 point scale that allows you to score the candidate on given criteria. It's important to mention that scorecards are not the same as job descriptions, although there is some overlap. They are a more crystallized version. They allow you to evaluate performance after hiring using the same qualities you hired for. Moreover, you can use scorecards as process documentation for a feedback loop for continuous improvement. Now let's move on to step 3, plan your screening process. The main goal is to assess candidates on your scorecard criteria. But how much in depth should you go? That is the main consideration when planning your screening process. Unfortunately, there is no way to avoid the trade-off between quality and resources spent. Larger corporations can invest heavily. However, the situation for startups is often quite different. You don't have enough time and money to aim for perfect quality. At the same time, hiring the wrong person can cost thousands and months of wasted timeline on your project. For a startup with a short runway, hiring mistakes can be deadly. So, how much effort should you put in? To give you a rough estimate, here is the screening process we use at Remote More: initial interview, technical screening, personality test, in depth interview, light background check, and make an offer. At the end, you should have high confidence in candidate scores. In part two of the series about hiring remote developers, we'll go much more in depth for each screening step. So stay tuned. Step 4: choose your sourcing strategy. There are two main ways to reach remote developer candidates: passive and active sourcing. With passive sourcing, you create a job description and wait for developers to apply. This method has a few very big problems. First, passive sourcing is slow. It usually takes at least 3 to 4 weeks to get enough candidates in the pipeline. Second, the chances of attracting the candidates you need are low. Good developers are rarely opening job board websites. They are almost always working already. In 2023, the unemployment rate for software engineers is rather low, only 1.8%. Those who are good usually get contacted with job offer messages pretty much every day. Job boards rarely get high-quality hires. Last but not least, passive sourcing requires lots of manual work filtering through low-quality candidates. 2. Active sourcing. When you use this method, you reach out and connect only with developers who meet your requirements. On most platforms where you can do active sourcing, there are filters that you can use to find the right candidates. On top of that, some platforms for active sourcing, like Remote More, do the heavy lifting for you upfront. We pre-screen for availability, technical skills, English, and more. We manually handpick the best candidates for your specific project. This means you can usually start interviewing available developers that are high quality within 1 week or even days. In part 3 of the series, we'll share the different passive and active sourcing channels that are great to use in 2023. Planning your process can be challenging, but equipped with our 4-step process, your recruiting will be much more successful. If you want help tailored to your company and hiring needs, we can help for free. Open the doors to perfect hiring today.